Yeah,
Lawrence, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing well. For any of you guys that do not know, this is Lawrence Tynes, two-time Super Bowl champion with the New York Giants. Been all over the place. Does that sound about right? There you go.
I have been all over the place. We played together, but came to Kansas City in 2001 as a undrafted rookie out of Troy University. Just had no idea what I was doing.
Mhm.
Got cut after camp. Went to NFL Europe in 2002. Had a great year there. Of course, NFL Europe's a little different. The American kickers at the time only attempted all the long field goals, so
Hmm.
he didn't get a lot of attempts.
Where
So
in
when
Europe? Where in Europe were you?
I was in Scotland, so it was good to be back home where I was born. I moved here from Scotland when I was 10. So obviously I had a lot of family, friends, relatives in Scotland to come watch me play. So that was certainly a bonus. Got some game experience, which was good. As you know, playing pro football, the more experience you get, the better you get.
Mhm.
So came back, came, to training camp. I got cut again. So
Back to the same team, or
I went to Kansas City. Yeah, so Kansas City allocated me in 2002 to Europe.
okay?
I came back to training camp and got cut after camp. I had an okay camp, probably not as good as I thought I could have kicked. So right from there, I went to Canada and played in the CFL with the Ottawa Renegades.
Okay.
Uh, I came in with about 8 games left in the season, so it was interesting. You know, it was a completely different league, 12 on 12, bigger field. I mean, you have 9, 10, 11-yard field goals in the CFL because the upright's on the front. But again, I played 8 games. I did fairly well, so I re-signed in Ottawa. And I just said to myself, I need to play a full season. I need to get a full season's worth of tape, show these people in the NFL that I can do this.
Right.
And so, fortunately for me, in 2003, I had a fantastic season. I made all the all pro teams in Canada. I was 51 for 62. So that shows you how many times you get to kick. It's only 3 down football. So, they
51
have,
field goals.
yeah, 51 field goals.
Lord.
So you could imagine the amount of experience I got
Yeah.
playing. I mean, that's a lot of kicks. So game type kicks, you're getting paid to do it. There's pressure involved. And then that was good because when I got done with that season, I had my pick of about 7 teams
Right.
coming out of Canada. So I chose Kansas City again because I was comfortable there. I had been there. I felt like Morton Anderson was getting older, which he was. I think he was 44, 45 at the time. I was only 25, 26. So
Mhm.
I knew they gave me a pretty good commitment financially. So I said, you know what, this is my best opportunity. This is where I feel most comfortable. And I beat him out, man. Other than my kicks to the Super Bowl, my claim to fame is beating out Morton Anderson because
Oh
no
man.
one, no one has ever beaten him out.
Yeah,
So
that is. I mean, that's kind of cool because when I went to New York, as you know, Jeff Fiegels was there, and
yeah,
he was kind of actually when I got drafted, he was still there. He hadn't retired yet, so I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to do here? And then he retired, so that was I don't know. Was there added pressure in filling the shoes of a guy that's been so consistent for so long, or
a little bit, because listen, the year before they had went, they were 12-4. I think they won the AFC West. I want to say they were the 1 seed in the AFC. They ended up losing in the first round. They had the bye. They lost. So I'm thinking, here's a team that was on the cusp the year before of being a really good team. And granted, we returned everyone: Priest Holmes, Trent Green. We had the great offensive line, great offensive players, Dante Hall. And here I am, this kind of not really a true rookie, but a guy who has never kicked in the NFL for a full season.
right?
I did feel a little bit of pressure, no question, because Dick Vermeil told me, he told me I think a day before cuts, he said, "Look, I'm going to keep you, and I'm cutting a Hall of Famer for you."
Yeah,
So how does that feel, right? So it's like, thanks, coach. Um,
yeah,
but I really did have a really strong season going until late in the year. My last 2 or 3 games weren't real good. They weren't
right.
terrible. I had my first game winner in the NFL on Christmas night against the Raiders, so that was cool. But I didn't finish down the stretch as well as I had started because I had a really good like games 1 through 12. I was mid 80s%, and then I ended up finishing under 80 for the year because I had a couple misses late. But uh, as you know, man, that first year, whew, you're just trying to stay alive not just every week, but it's every kick.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, so compared to the NFL Europe and Canada, I was actually talking with a guy today from Canada, asking him about how the CFL was and stuff. I mean, pre-game stuff like that. Is it? It's just the NFL in the United States is just a whole different ball game, I would
It's
imagine.
it's a whole different level. I mean, you're talking about especially financially, but the
Yeah,
overall presence of football in Canada is, I mean, it's obviously not as big as hockey, but I mean, you'd be surprised. I think people would be surprised if they tuned into a CFL game how much fun it is because it's really an offensive league. And you go out to Winnipeg or Edmonton or Vancouver where BC plays,
hmm
there's 40, 50,000 people in the stands. I mean, it's real deal football. I mean, Saskatchewan, Ottawa, the capital where I played, it was not as popular, but we still put 25, 30,000 people in the seats. But it's a different game, man. I mean, listen, your work day is like 12 to 4. I
yeah,
mean, as you know, in the NFL, you're there from 7:30 in the morning till 5, 4 or 5 o'clock for kickers and punters, but the
yeah.
positional guys stay there quite a bit longer.
Yeah, I don't think people really realize that. I think they see the NFL on TV and see these guys, and they're like, "Man, these guys just get paid to do this." This is kind of silly. I always see like, how teachers make so little, and NFL guys make so much. This is what's wrong with America. Blah blah blah. And I tell them, I'm like, "Look, dude, the NFL is a $10 billion a year industry. You
Right.
tell me what industry that brings in $10 billion where its employees aren't paid well." And
Right.
I think the biggest thing about the NFL to me is because I played at East Carolina. We had 50,000 fans, something like that. Played in big other
Mhm.
stadiums. It's not so much the fans; it's just everything that comes with it. The media, it's just you play in college, you're kind of a big deal in your town. In the NFL, it's broadcast everywhere.
It's huge. And listen, the CFL does have a TV deal. They do have coverage. At one time, the CFL was as lucrative as the NFL because Rocket Ishmael played up there, Doug Flutie. You could go on. I want to say Warren Moon, obviously, a Hall of Famer. There was a time in the CFL where you could make big bucks. And I think what eventually happened is that ended up breaking the league. I mean, if you made, and a lot of people don't realize this. I mean, people always want to know what do you make in the CFL. My last year there, I mean, I was believe it or not, kickers and punters actually make quite a bit more than positional players because you're so involved.
Yeah,
I was actually one of the few Americans to play in that league. Uh, I think I was the first American kicker in 10 years when I went up there in 2002. So I knew my place. CFL roster is half Canadian, half American. It's almost like NFL Europe. You have to have so many Canadians, so many Americans. So when I got to the league, I knew my place, and I was like, the first year I didn't care what I made. I just wanted to play.
right.
And then my second year, I kind of did a deal where, I made almost $100,000 Canadian money. That's for me. I was like, that's good money, man. I played in NFL Europe where you made $700 a game.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the quarterbacks and some of these defensive specialists in the CFL do make really good money. Um, Different league, but I tell you what, it certainly prepared me for the NFL to be able to, I played for pay.
right.
I played, on TV. I mean, it's just, as you know, it's a maturation process of, it's one thing to play football while you're on scholarship and
Yeah,
all your buddies are with you, but it's a complete another thing to say, man, this is how I'm making a living now. And it is different. It's harder. And then once you get that feeling back of I am just having fun and you're not constantly thinking about getting cut or
right.
having to perform, then your God given talent takes over.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a huge difference in college because if you have a bad game, it's not like the coaches are out on the practice field the next Monday trying out kickers like they do in the NFL. I remember after the first game, walking out to my car and seeing like four punters coming in to work out. I'm like, holy crap, this is the real deal. Like you gotta perform, and it was so tough. And the difference from like my first training camp to my second training camp, it was just night and day. You like
It
you
is.
kind of knew what fears were like legit, and then the rest. But the second time, I was like, this is just a game, man. I was uptight all last year and it sucked, you know.
It's hard because you grow up watching a lot of these guys on TV. I think a lot of it has to do with that. The amount of, the media coverage, we already talked about it, but like, people putting these people on these pedestals, and as you know, and as I know, you say we're just a bunch of guys, and we are, but everybody else has it as this novelty. Oh my God, this guy's superhuman. He
Yeah,
did that no one can do. And that, as you talked about, that is the farthest thing from the truth. All I say NFL guys are people that really wanted something, they went after it, and they worked hard. Like, there's not a secret formula. And obviously, we all were incredibly lucky because it you don't just get there by accident. I get that, but you also have to have a lot of luck and maybe impress the right person, the right personnel guy. I
yeah,
mean, so there's a lot of variables with making a roster. But at the end of the day, the way people hold, I'm not going to use people's names, but you know what I'm talking about, the big name players. They're just regular guys,
yeah,
and the infatuation is somewhat annoying to me sometimes because there's not a secret to make it and be successful. Not even just in football, but in life. Listen, if you do the work, hard work trumps talent all day long. We
right,
all know that.
yeah,
But very few people are willing to put in the work. And like you said, nobody sees the 7 a.m. to 5 Monday through Saturday.
hmm,
All they see is Sunday and how cool it is to be. There's a lot of work involved in pro football, and I wish, because it's funny because remember you would say I'm going to work, like, and I said that like on a Tuesday I'd be like, hey, I got work tomorrow, I can't do that or something, and people go work. They're like, you play football, and I'm like, that's my job. It's
yeah,
not, it is work, and I get that something you love is not work, but at the end of the day, that's where I went to pay the bills.
yeah, yeah. No, that's so true. I mean, I had a hard time. It was almost like nothing changed from college to football as far as my um, like routine. Getting up, going to the thing. But now it's like I've got a very large check in my locker every
Right.
week, and I'm like, holy crap, and I think where I struggled was that I didn't look at his work. I looked at it as like, what's the big deal, blah blah blah. I mean, and I think it's good to kind of put things into perspective, but um, you got to know I got to perform, and if you don't, you're going to get cut, and you get a 5-figure check each week in your locker. You're like, I really do got to perform. They're actually investing in me.
They're investing a lot of money, and you're right. Like, that's the hardest part. Like, we've already talked about it a couple times. To play for pay. I know it sounds crazy, and everyone thinks, oh, it's so it would be easy. But when a team is putting that amount of money in you, it's just like when you go out and buy that $50,000 car. You expect it to run and take care of you and do everything that it said it was going to do. And that's essentially what an NFL owner is doing. He's
Yeah,
you and let's be real, outside of so many players, you're really just a number. And I get that. Now the Giants organization, I think, is the best in the world. We are people there. They do have feelings. They do care about you, but there is a bottom line. It's a business. So I get that, but like you said, that's the hardest part to learn, that it is a business because when a deal doesn't go your way, all Jerry Reese or all one of the management people are doing is doing business. It has nothing to do with you personally, but it's hard as a player for you not to take it personal because you put so much effort into it. And when you get a deal that maybe doesn't look right or you don't think it's enough money, you're going to be offended because at the end of the day, you're Matt Dodge Inc. I'm Lawrence Tynes Inc. Like,
right.
we are our own business, and when someone doesn't offer you the value that you think you're worth, it can offend you, and I get it. So when people say don't take it personal, you're not supposed to, but
Yeah.
I did. I'm not going to lie. I mean, that's how I ended up in New York because the Chiefs didn't offer me what I thought I was worth, and so they traded me. And I'm glad they traded me, but at the time, it wasn't something that I was real happy about.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like, keeping the power on your side, not like, because it's easy to think, unless you're just one of these freakish guys that are going to have offers from every single team. Like,
Right.
no, I'm gonna test the waters. I think I'm worth more than that. But in the back of your head, you're like, look what I'm
Mhm.
potentially saying no to. If I never get signed again, I know I had the chance to sign it right here. And the chance of me going out into the marketplace and finding this amount of income, pretty zero to none, starting off. You know what I mean?
Are you talking about after football?
Right. Yeah. Because
Right.
that.
Listen, I'm in it now. I mean, I'm currently working for a private aviation company called Wheels Up, and you know it too. You're out of football too, so you really have to separate that because the one thing I think people get in trouble with, former players as well, is they're constantly chasing maybe not the money, but the job or something that gives them that same feeling that football did. You'll never get that. You're never, ever, ever going to replace football. And I think if you can tell yourself that and be honest and look yourself in the mirror and say, I can't, I'm never going to find it, then I think you're going to be fine. But a lot of guys can't do that, man. They try and I don't know what they try and do, but to me, you'll never replace football. And until you can really be honest with yourself about that, um, it's never going to go away. I mean, listen, football was great. It's fun. I wish I could still play. I had the MRSA infection. I can't play anymore. Physically, I'm just not there. I would love to keep playing, and I miss it every day. But the reality of it is, it's going to end for everybody. And I just think it's hard pill to swallow. It takes some time.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah, when people ask me, like, what's the main thing you miss, and a lot of it's just like the camaraderie. There's
Yeah.
no job in the world where you're going to show up in 50, 60 guys. You're like in a fraternity, and you all hang out, and you're all working towards the same thing. And
Right.
it's just a lot of fun. Between the games, that to me, that was the funnest part. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's tough because you get into the marketplace, and me, I'd never worked, out of college. I went from, working odd jobs in construction during college to pay for school, and then I got on scholarship, and then I got drafted, and immediately was one of the highest salaried guys in the country at 23 years old. And while it was great, it got me used to dealing with large sums of money. It almost, like, I didn't appreciate what it took to make that money. I didn't. It almost seemed like I was getting paid to play a game, and after I got cut and saw, like, I'm gonna have to try and find something to do in the marketplace, I'm like, it's a lot harder to make that amount of money in the marketplace because nobody's paying me for being able to kick a ball anymore.
No, because in reality, you have to think why you made that money. At the end of the day, you were one of the 32 best people in the world. I think sometimes people lose sight of that. Um, you're 30. There's 32 punters, there's 32 kickers, there's 32 snappers in the world.
Mhm.
I understand football is not played everywhere in the world, but at the end of the day, it's a very, very elite position. Whether you own it for 1 year, whether you own it for, I played 13 years, counting Canada in CFL, but it is hard, like you said. You think, and as you thought, I'm sure you thought, okay, 1 year is going to turn to two, and then, but nobody ever really plans for it to end. I
Right.
mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm 36. I thought I was going to play till I was like 42 years old. I mean, to be honest, I felt that good physically, and then boom, I get an infection, toes all screwed up. I can't kick anymore. So that was harder to swallow than anything else I probably dealt with.
Yeah. So talk about that infection. But what now? If nobody knows that, they're gonna be like, "Who is this guy? Did he get like? Is he like infested
Well,
with something?"
yeah, I can't go too deep into it because of certain legality matters. But again, I got a MRSA infection along with a couple other players, and at the Bucks facility last year, and that's basically why I don't play in a nutshell. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but
Okay. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just didn't want people to think you had like a wild weekend
Right.
in Panama
Yeah.
City or something. Uh, that's crazy. So, yeah, tell that. So, football aside, you said you went to Troy. Where did you? I know you grew up early on in Scotland. I remember you talking about that till you were like 10 years old, I believe.
Yeah. So my dad was military, right? We spent most of my early childhood life over there, and then we moved to Florida. It was funny because we moved to Florida when I was like 10 or 11. I forget which one. So we moved to this beautiful Mecca, Florida, right? You've heard about Florida as a kid in Scotland, beaches, sunshine, and it was funny, man. Me and my two older brothers, everyone in the neighborhood called us the Lucky Charms kids, and I'm like, bro, we're not Irish, we're Scottish. But the way we talked, we sound like the Lucky Charms guy. So anyway, so we ended up fitting right in. I mean, sports were our outlet. We walked. Mom opened the door at 9 a.m. We come back at 5. Played 5 games of soccer, 3 games of football. We lived in like a Navy housing area where all the other military families live. So uh, it was fun, man. I'll be honest with you. I didn't know what football really was. I ended up starting to watch it a little bit as I got into my 12, 13. Friends started talking about it, but I didn't play football until I was a senior in high school. My buddies all kind of talked me into it. Said, "Look, it's your senior year. Come out. Do something you can play." And it's probably the best decision, obviously, I've made in my life to date with regards to sports. Like I said, all right, I'll come
Yeah,
out. And so it was a good decision, man. But football for me was, man, I was 6'1" in high school, 150. I looked like a Pez dispenser. I had this big old head, this little body, and
yeah,
so I just didn't. I wasn't into the physical part of it because I was a soccer player my whole life. But I played a little bit of safety too. So I love the game. I think, as you alluded to, it is the greatest team sport in the world. It's you get those 53 guys in a locker room from all different parts of the world, different economics, different neighborhoods, and to see a group like really just come together like that, it just goes to show you how cool like teamwork
yeah,
and it's the ultimate team game. And I think, like you said, that's the thing you miss the most is like the guys.
yeah, yeah. No, I remember that. Like growing up in a small town in eastern North Carolina, there's not a whole lot of diversity. So what football allowed me to do, man, maybe I had a lot of brothers as friends, and you know,
Yeah,
I roomed with a black guy up in New York, and I mean, it was amazing. Like, you didn't really notice that difference of if I didn't play football, I would never been exposed to that. And
right.
it's really really cool. Just people from all walks of life. It gets you out of your little box. I
Oh,
thought every family was like mine growing up. Two
yeah,
one of 5 kids, both parents still together, everything is kind of perfect. And I couldn't understand how people were acting crazy, how people were making these mistakes. And then you start meeting these football guys, and you're like, you see it coming from either broken homes or whatever it is. And I mean, those guys were like very inspiring to me because, I mean, they didn't make a big deal out of it, but we've all seen like the E60 stuff on these
yeah,
guys who come from like ganglands. I'm thinking like the Richard Shermans, all those guys.
right.
To be able to now be the face of a $10 billion industry. It's pretty remarkable.
I don't want to get too deep about, but like the human spirit and teamwork and people, it just goes to show you, like, all this, world peace stuff people talk about. Being in that group, like you said, black, white, Hispanic. I mean, I played with all Indian, Samoan. It is the coolest thing in the world, and I just think that that's why we love it so much.
Yeah,
It, because really they are your brothers for 7 months or 8 months, for that 9 months, whatever it is, that counting the off season, the regular season. I mean, that's your family. I mean, obviously we almost spend more time with them than we do our own family, which is probably true.
hmm
So it is, man, and I think it's kind of this unbreakable bond that, even, and you'll see. I mean, as you get older, you see guys you played with, or same for me when I see guys I play with, like Strahan or whoever it may be. I mean, it's an ultimate. Hey, how you doing? How's the wife? How's the kids? It's truly unlike any other sport I think in the world.
yeah. So my brother was military, and went to Iraq and Kuwait and stuff. And he talks about the bond he had with a lot of his guys over there too, and it's very similar how he talks about them. You know, they get around and they start sharing stories, and that's all you're gonna do. You get around your football guys, it's like, man, remember that one time in the locker room where, you know, we threw some dude in the cold tub or whatever it is. It's just such a neat like dynamic of like grown men can act really really silly and play a game and get paid. It's uh it's
It
pretty.
is, yeah. And like you said, you're only on the field for 2 hours for practice, so a lot of meetings, a lot of locker room, a lot of lunch, breakfast, and all you're doing is really screwing around. Someone's making you laugh, you're making them laugh. Um, it's. I wish everyone could experience it once in life, but
Yeah.
to me, it's still the ultimate.
So speaking on hazing, did you get hazed when you first got in? I know you weren't a
I
rookie per se.
did I get? As far as I remember, no. I mean, I listen. The generic thing to do when I came into the league was make you sing. Right? You guys did that. And
Right.
make you stand up in front of the team. You got to sing your fight song or whatever. It was. I stood up. I don't know. I think I rapped.
That
It
sounds.
was. It was not good. It was not good. But you know what? You give the effort and you get up there and you're so bad. You don't fight the veterans because the veterans are going to keep saying, "Hey, get up there. Let's go, kicker, rookie."
Yeah.
And then if you jump up and sing and rap and it's awful, they'll never want to hear you again. But if you fight it and you don't want to go do it, they're going to keep bugging you. So I did it the very first time they asked me. They never bothered me again.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you remember what. Do you remember what happened to me in Albany?
I don't.
I
Tell
was,
me
so this was
fresh.
probably a week into camp, and we stay at, I believe it was Albany, right? University of Albany.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was sleeping on a bunk, and obviously it was very hot and whatever. And I went to bed one night, and I was feeling really itchy, and not sure what it was, you know, because you perspire when you sleep and whatever. And so I woke up, walked to the mirror,
I remember. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and I'm like, and I look in the mirror, and it's literally like I can't remember what if it was green or purple,
It
but
was blue dot. Rick
yeah,
Sober.
yeah, whatever it was, there was like my skin was dyed, like I looked like one of those guys off of Avatar, and I'm like, I immediately started Googling like diseases from dorm rooms that change your skin color. I mean, I was freaking out and showed up, and all the offensive linemen were like, "That's what you get, you know, rookie." Blah blah blah. I probably used worse words than that, but yeah, it's just things like that. You know, you never forget, and I kind of took it like a grain of salt and laughed it off, and just how I reacted to that, I mean, that got me closer to those guys than if I was pissed or mad. I remember they got JPP a couple times just because I think what did you do to JPP? I don't know if we should air all this out, but it was pretty funny.
What did I do?
Was that you?
I forget. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So me, I can tell JPP now. Actually, I think I told JPP after. So the kickers and punters have a lot of time. We don't meet as long. We don't do as much. That's all. We all know that. So a lot of guys would put me, Zach, Fiegels, you, whoever it was, up to go do something against one of their position mates. So I think it was me and Zach. I took JPP's car. I got his keys out of his locker, and I moved his car, and I actually parked it. And many people remember this. The walkway going down to practice at Albany, parked it right in the middle, and
That was pretty good.
well, it was funny because JPP came out and he was pissed. Like he was so mad. Coach was like, "Who's parking their car here?" And then it was just laughable. And then I guess he ended up having to move it.
Yeah.
And I think later on in camp, people started moving people's cars onto the practice field, and Coughlin was getting so pissed. It was awesome. But that's just kind of the little camaraderie building things you do,
Yeah.
as long as it doesn't really cross the line. My word, I'll tell you what though, a funny one I did, not to elongate the story, but when I first got traded to the Giants, I didn't really know anybody. I had done a couple OTAs, not a lot. So uh, I said, you know what I'm gonna do? I didn't really know anyone real well, so I said, you know what? Like first 3 days of camp, I went out and I let the air out of all the quarterbacks' tires on their car. So Eli, Jared Lorenzen, Matt Hasselback, and God, Anthony Wright. So what I did was I let the air out just the one side. I just did one side of the car. But I went and bought 4 bike pumps. So I taped a bike pump to their car. So they weren't stranded. They were going to have to do some manual labor to
Oh
to
my God.
get the car back, so they could drive it. So they find out I did that. And I didn't think they found out. So like the last day of camp, I go to leave, right? Where it's like a half day at Albany, everyone's hauling butt down 287 to get back home. I come out, my car is bumper to bumper in Vaseline, like
Oh my God.
bumper to bumper. And I mean, I don't know what to do. So I go and get one of the janitor's carts from the gym, with all the cleaning supplies on it and the paper towels. I went through, I think, 7 rolls of paper towel.
Wow.
I used all the rags. I started like squirting the windows because it wouldn't come off the windows.
Yeah.
And so finally, like literally 3-4 hours later, I got it to where I could drive home.
Holy cow.
That was pretty good. That was a good one. So I found out like Eli and like Hasselback and then did that one.
Yeah.
So
Eli's he's a pretty notorious pranker. Eli.
yeah, yeah, he's really good. Well, again, he's so slick. He's kind of very unassuming, as you know. He won't tell anybody. Eli will do something and not tell a soul. So, that's how we always get caught. I think I told like Fiegels or something, and he ended up telling Eli.
Yeah.
If I would have never said who told Fiegels that I did the whole letting the air out of the tire thing, no one would have ever known unless they went to Walmart in Albany and saw me leaving Walmart with 4 bike pumps.
Yeah. Given Albany, that's not that big of a stretch. Yeah, I remember at the first training camp, didn't you get a car that was like decaled with Eli's face like across the whole thing? I don't know how you got keys to that.
Yeah, so Toyota was a big sponsor of the Giants, and Eli is obviously the big Toyota guy. So we ended up having me and Zach said, I said, you know what? You guys are parking these cars all over campus. I said, what better way to market these by letting me and Zach drive them? So I think I had a Prius. Zach had like the Camry. So man, those things were sweet. So we're driving them all over town, and some of the linemen were getting pretty annoyed with me and Zach. I mean, so we all know what happened to Zach's car. Somebody drew you know what on the side.
Not to say, yeah, I want to keep this as PG as possible. Yeah,
I'm keeping it clean.
I've got so many funny memories. One that I just, without being too crass, I remember picture day. I think you probably remember that too.
Oh yeah.
Taking pictures for the programs, and we're doing the whole like this is the specialist, and then I look over at you guys, and you guys reach down and throw out these like
we had washcloths rolled up like in like almost like a wrap or an egg roll type thing.
Yeah, sitting right into those tight pants, and I'm sitting there looking like not very impressive. And but the funny thing is, so you took half your pictures with those in and half of them with it out, and I couldn't wait to get the actual, like, it was almost like picture day. You get your pictures back from school, and dang if they didn't use the ones where you guys had those things stuck in there.
Hey, I was shocked too, because I think when you're just printing the pictures, everyone's like, oh, you're specialist, DVs, D-line. I got the picture back, and I said, it was me and Steve, it was me and Steve, I think. Or was it me and Zach? Me and Zach. So we get the pictures back. I said, there's no way in hell they left those, we kind of made our manhood look a little bigger in the picture. And, I mean, it's sure as shit, they gave us the whole picture, the ones we actually had that in there.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone really looked at it. You know where I got that from, though, is from Dustin Colquitt, who still punts for the Chiefs. Me and him, his rookie year, my second year in the league, we decided for team picture, because kickers are always on the front row. So we said, you know what, let's get. So we go into the equipment room. I said, can we get two pairs of Willie Roaf's high top cleats? He wears like size 18, 19. So me and Dustin get these high top cleats. They look absolutely ridiculous. They look like bozo shoes, right?
Yeah.
So we're in the front, arms crossed, like legs are crossed, and these shoes, man, they're huge. So sure enough, we get the picture back. Same thing. We can't wait, and so it's evolved. So we're in the front of the picture with these ridiculous shoes on, and then Dustin has continued the tradition. He's I think he's in his 10th year now with the Chiefs. He sent me what he did this year. It was the ultimate.
Oh,
He
no.
took his picture, team picture, right? And he's not being offensive. It's just funny. And I certainly don't want to offend anybody. But he's got a team picture like this, and he's got just one arm. He took his arm out of his sleeve, and it's tucked in like his shirt, but the sleeve is still hanging there. So he's sitting there as the one-armed punter in the team picture. And they actually, if we can get a hold of that, he sent it to me. I think they ended up putting an arm on it after they found out, but I think they printed them with his arm not in there.
Yeah.
So he has really gotten pretty cool, pretty creative about what he's doing with those pictures.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm gonna try and get some of these pictures and link them to this actual.
I actually have a picture of it. I don't. It's not a full team, but it's the picture of him. He sent me. He said, "Look what I did for the team picture this year," and I was dying laughing.
That is too funny. And I hope anyone watching, they can kind of understand. Like we're all people, we're having fun out there. So before you like throw your remote through the TV because somebody didn't perform well for your fantasy league, like they're just all guys just playing a funny game. So that's pretty awesome, man. And so we talked earlier kind of about what the reality of your success was. The things you had to do going to Canada, to Europe, and back and stuff. And I guess kind of at what point did you have that shift in your thinking, that aha moment to where you're like, you went from like, okay, I'm kicking in college to like, I'm worthy of playing in the NFL. This is something I can actually do, because I don't think you can make it to that level before you make that decision, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So what happened? This is going to be really funny. My junior year, right? I was just I was a walk-on in college. I got a scholarship. I was a 4-year player. After my junior year, it was funny. Mel Kiper, we all know him as this draft guru, ESPN guy. He came out with like his top seniors for 2000. I'm dating myself here.
Yeah.
2000, or I'm sorry, yeah, 2000 was my last year, and I was on there. Like I was the only one AA kicker, right? All of them were like, Florida State guys that the kid from Vanderbilt. So I kind of said, am I that good? I swear to God, I knew I was doing my job, but I never said I can do this. So it's really funny that I saw something back on the old dial-up internet back then on ESPN.com.
Yeah.
Where it said I was one of the, by his standards, one of the top 5. I think it was number 3 or 2 out of all these schools, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. So I'll be honest with you, that was kind of like, I was like, damn, I guess I am pretty good if Mel Kiper's taking notice of a guy from a 1 AA school to put me up there with the rest of the top schools in the country. So from then I really dialed it in. And of course, I had my degree before my senior year started. So I really screwed around my senior year. I mean, I was a football player. I already had my degree. I wasn't pursuing a master's at that time. I was taking classes because we were on the quarter system to be eligible. So after football season was over, I was done. I didn't go to another class. Like, I didn't have to go to class. I already had my degree. I graduated the summer before my last football season. So that's when I really kind of had that shift or aha moment where I said, and then I had a great senior year. And then, as you know, the agents start calling. And granted, we had a punter that played in the NFL too, so it was really good to have him. We both walked on together. Matt played for the Giants, Matt Allen.
Yep.
So it was good to have him and me, and then we both had our degrees already. So we trained and trained and trained, and then I didn't get invited to the combine or anything, but
Yeah,
Matt, our punter, did. So, but it was great for him because anytime he had a workout, I would work out for the guys that wanted to see him, and then anytime I had a team that wanted me to work out, Matt would work out. So we ended up, I bet you we saw half the league in terms of a workout. I bet you we worked out for 16 teams
that's
in
awesome.
between us. So it was cool. And then obviously you kind of start going through the whole undrafted, drafted,
So,
and working
uh,
your way up.
so I think a lot of people kind of think like these guys have been dreaming since they were, we always see images of like Peyton Manning when he was 4 years old playing catch in the backyard. Like he knew that he knew that he knew he was going to go to the NFL.
Right.
But you're saying like going into my senior year, I mean, I was a college football player. Maybe it probably crossed your mind, but
Yeah.
nothing crazy. See, that was really the same way with me. I wasn't in love with. I mean, I liked playing, but I mean, I played 5 or 6 different sports growing up. Football just happened to be the one that I could just kick it further than other people. So I was like, almost
Yeah.
got promoted on accident. And I remember being at our rookie symposium, and it was so funny. For anyone who doesn't know, rookie symposium is all the rookies that got drafted go to this place, and they basically tell you how not to lose all your money and
Right.
don't hang out with strange women and all that good stuff.
Which is completely hysterical, by the way, that we have to tell 22 and 23-year-olds how to not get in trouble. But go ahead.
Yeah. And so we're sitting around like this room, and like there's this motivational dude. I think he had played, and he was like going around. I think we were in there with like the Vikings, because I remember that the running back for the Vikings, Gerhard, I think it was his last name. And
Yeah.
they're going around like, when did you know you wanted to play in the NFL? And he was like, since I was born, I knew it. This is like what I wanted to do my whole life. And they get to us, and I don't know if we were just like taking funny pills or what, but they asked me. I was like, probably before this year, I started to actually consider it. And they get to JPP, and he's like, man, about 3 months. That's all I've been thinking about the NFL. So it was so funny.
He had only played football for like 6 months by that time.
Yeah, he's just a genetic freak. But I thought I almost felt guilty. I'm like, oh crap, I never visualized myself in the NFL, and so I think there's both
People,
sides.
people shouldn't feel like you said. I didn't know. You didn't know. The thing that drives me nuts now as a parent, and I'm sure people that know me around here locally that I coach and stuff. The thing that drives me nuts is all these parents that are trying to raise a pro athlete from the age of 5. Like, give it a break. And I'm not saying it's easy for us to say it because we've done it, but I'm just being realistic. You, we don't know what's going to happen. Like, I didn't even know what football was really till I was 11 or 12, and I didn't even play the game until I was 17. So the bottom line is, to me, I don't think you make. We've all seen the Todd Marinovich story where, hey, they manufactured this football player. His dad manufactured him since he was 5. He was a first-round pick, but he ended up hating football.
Yeah,
He turned into drugs. He lasted, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years. Now he's an artist, and he's a damn good artist.
yeah,
Todd Marinovich. He had a great E60. That's what he wanted to do, was be an artist. His
yeah,
dad made him into a football player, and granted, he was good enough to be drafted in the first round. I get that, but you just never know. I just think, I'm kind of taking the approach with my kids that I make them play everything once: baseball, soccer, basketball, no football yet until they're older, but I make them play everything once, and then if they don't like it, they don't have to play it. Now they
right.
can't quit it while they're playing it the first year, but if I ask them next year, do you want to play this, and they say no, then they don't play it, because worst thing is I'm giving the coach a kid who doesn't want to play the sport. That makes it hard on him. They're only 7 years old. So I think you just let them be. They'll figure it out. Listen, they're going to figure out what they like, and they're going to do what they like. So, like you said, I love football. Yeah, I don't. You said you were good at it. I learned to love it as I got into college and started playing it more and learning how cool it was to be a part of a team. But I'll be honest with you, I had no idea what the heck I was going to be doing.
Yeah, it's all these people are breeding professional athletes, but it's like let's look at the stats. It's like 1% of 1% actually makes it. So
Mm-hmm.
that'd be like me studying lottery tickets to try and pick the best one, you know, and like I know that there's mad riches if you win the lottery.
A lot
So
of luck, as you know, there's a lot of luck too. You don't, I guess you kind of make your own luck by your preparation. I get that, but still, you still have to have that great game or that great video clip that someone sees that then again takes it back to that team, and then obviously you get mentioned, and then you got to perform too. I mean, like you said, we all had these workouts before the draft,
yeah,
and they're nerve wracking. They're job interviews, but again, it's a coach, and it's not as nerve wracking as probably the combine. I didn't do the combine, but
yeah,
you're sitting there in front of every dignitary there is in the NFL.
yeah. Wearing nothing but your underwear.
Right.
Yeah, that was pretty awkward. Yeah, I remember our pro day at our school. The only thing I cared about was the bench press. That is the only thing I wanted to
Did you
like
just wrap it out?
yeah, just 225. So I think I did it 23 or 24 times. And I was so jacked, and I had like the biggest pump, like couldn't even like extend my arms, and they were like, "All right, Matt, time to go punt now." And I couldn't even it took me. I had to stretch to get the pump out of my like triceps and chest. I was looking great, but I mean, I could not catch a football. But that's funny. So
You guys punted after the 225 reps.
like 10 minutes after.
So how many punters and kickers did the 225 bench?
Oh, I was the only one.
I knew it. I knew it.
This wasn't at the combine. This was at our school's pro day. I didn't bench at the combine.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So this was in our school. You know, I had like armbands on, and was chugging water to weigh more when I got weighed in. Like for what reason I
Well,
don't know. It turned out it didn't matter.
you were just trying to be like a linebacker or something that you weren't. It's fine.
That's it.
Listen, embrace the kicker punter will embrace it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
Although
remember.
you Steve by far still to this day are the most jacked up two punters we've ever. Remember when we go out in preseason and when you and Steve were competing and like the other kicker and punter were like, "Holy what are you guys lifting?" It was like we were at this bodybuilding contest, but no, you guys are still to me the biggest, strongest two guys I've ever played with that punted or kicked.
He is a monster. I mean, that guy. What do you think about that guy? Honestly, and for y'all don't know, Steve Weatherford is the reason I'm sitting in an office right now and not playing football. He took
He's
my job.
you know him. He's got a heart of gold. One of the most charitable guys there is out there in the league. I mean, obviously he's up for Walter Payton Man of the Year, which is no small feat. I mean, if anyone deserves to win it, it's probably him. I mean, he is. If you guys don't follow Steve Weatherford on Instagram or Twitter, you can find him. Believe me, and he's gonna have his shirt off a whole lot. But if I looked like him, I'd be doing this interview with my shirt off. Because this guy is, yeah, we're gonna keep it PG, but no, he's fantastic. He's high energy. I won a Super Bowl with him. Got to go back to his hometown with him in Terre Haute, Indiana, and got to kind of see him in his element back home, small town. Terre Haute's not terribly big, but he's a good dude, man. I love him. You guys got to be pretty good buddies. He loves to lift. He loves to lift. He loves to eat. The sucker can eat now.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And he loves supplements. But the thing is, he lives that lifestyle, and listen, it's not cheap, and it's expensive as hell. But man, the guy doesn't eat carbs. He doesn't eat anything that's probably very good.
yeah. Yeah, I remember I was like, man, I want to hate this guy so much because he's like, I'm competing against him.
You're trying to mentally say, look, but he's a cool guy.
But I'm like, dude, we are like iron brothers. Everything you love, I love. Like we would go back and forth. He's been on like the front of Muscle magazines. I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, he's been on everything. I mean, listen, there's no harder worker. I don't think. I don't care position, quarterback, defensive end. There's nobody that works harder on his craft than Steve. In my opinion, And granted, he's only a punter, and I get the whole, well, how hard can he really work? The sucker puts in the work. Now if he's not punting at practice, he's dropping, or he's holding, or he's doing, he's doing sprints. I mean, the guy is constantly in motion. He can't sit still.
Yeah.
But great teammate. You know him. I mean, listen, he does a lot for people in need, charities. I hope he wins this Walter Payton deal.
Yeah, he really is, and that's been one of the neatest
He's
things.
still there?
Hey, can you hear me?
Uh-oh.
Yo.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Just put your phone in like airplane mode. Can you flip it up there to airplane mode real quick? I think sometimes it messes with the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, because I've seen a couple. Let me see.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple. It's delayed a little bit, but can you see me now?
Yeah, I can see it. It's really blurry, but
Okay, yeah, it looked like it kicked off of HD. That's all right. So, anyways, I think we kind of got the gist of it. I mean, any words of wisdom you'd give for young athletes or young guys just trying to, perform at the highest level, be a high achiever. That's why I want this whole podcast and these little hangouts to just, talk with guys that have been at the top, and get to the reality of what it took to get there, and what are some traps to try and avoid along the way.
man, there's the only advice I can give, and I think I know hard work sounds so generic. It sounds so, there's got to be something else you did, and I'll be honest with you, there's really not. Like, after my senior year of high school, I kicked probably 4 or 5 days a week. Like, I'd go out to the Navy base and kick. I'd go to the high school and kick. I think if you really love something and you want something that bad, and for whatever reason, I don't know what happened during my senior year of high school football, but I really loved what I was doing so much that I wanted to go play college. Like, I said, you know what, and I wasn't going to let anything stop me from getting to that goal. And I think you're going to be told no, because obviously every school in the country told me no except Troy. I had to walk on. I got told I wasn't good enough to get drafted. And of my class in 2001, I played almost 3 times as long as any other kicker that came out that year.
Mm-hmm.
So I was told no there. Listen, there's going to be people tell you no. There's going to be no's. There's going to be you're not good enough. There's going to be if you don't believe in yourself, and we've all heard people say this, then no one's going to believe in you.
Yeah.
So I think you can't let people's opinions of you really bother you. Everyone's going to, listen, there's a bunch of haters in the world. And I see it on social media. I get it. We all get it. For every one person that likes you, there's 100 that hate you. So if you can black all that out, which I can compartmentalize, because there's a few people in the world that I really dearly care about, and I think at the end of the day, that's all that really matters to me. So just the hard work, man. I know it sounds so simple, but that's what it is. I mean, listen, if you're willing to put in the work, whether it's science, whether you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, any of that stuff, if you're willing to put in the work, man, and you'll know if you're putting in the work. If you're willing to put in the work, you're going to get results. It's just good karma. Things are going to happen. Yeah. So I would share that with people. The pitfalls you're going to obviously find, you know what, you got to watch out who you hang out with. And that's just being 100% real. We all have friends. We all have that friend, right, that we grew up with that probably wasn't doing the right thing all the time. And then once you make it, you got to be careful too, because everybody knew you. Everybody knows you now, and we experienced it. You get in the league, and you got your cousins, and that's fine. But the thing is, you have to be able to say no. So just be careful. You know what they say: keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. Right? You just got to be aware of what's going on, because people are cameras now, Twitter. Everybody's trying to bring you down.
Yeah.
So I just think if you can keep that singular focus on being great. Excuse my French, don't give a shit about what people say, because I think that's real important, and I don't, trust me. And then just put the work in. everything will happen if it's meant to be. You
Yeah.
can't beat yourself up over if it doesn't happen. But I think if you can put it into work and you're not good enough, I think it's easier to say, man, I'm just not good enough.
Yeah.
I can live with that. But I would hate to have they say regret is one of the most painful things you can live with.
Right.
If I was not to put in the work and and not make it, then I would say, you know what, I didn't make it because I didn't put in the work.
Right.
But some people, you just got to be honest with yourself. Are you doing enough or are you not? And you'll know. Listen, y'all know. You know when you push yourself, or if you're in that workout. It's hard, like you said. We're kickers and punters. It's easy to go over to the field and screw around and kick 20 balls and say, "Man, I had a great day."
Yeah.
Did you really though? Did you do everything that you would think is going to translate to a great practice if it was a real game?
Right.
So it's easy for us to kind of fall into that, but that's why kickers and punters and snappers, we're so mentally disciplined, because we got to do the work by yourself a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of it's not physical. A lot of it's not. You can't go like a pitcher or a punter. You're not going to punt 5,000 balls. You're not going to pitch 1,000 fastballs.
Right.
You've got to. So it's a lot of trusting yourself too. Trusting your technique, trusting, what you're going to do, and that you're going to be able to perform when it happens, and all that good stuff. And to kind of piggyback on what you said about working hard, it's like, you need to work hard, but you need to work hard at something you enjoy working hard at, so it doesn't feel like work. Because if you hate it every day, willpower is only going to take you so far.
Yeah.
And if you enjoy actually doing it, they always talk about Michael Jordan, like shooting thousands and thousands of free throws or whatever it was. And we look at that and we're like, God, he's so disciplined. That's amazing. Which on one hand, yes, he is disciplined, but on the other hand, he would do that if he wasn't playing. Like, he did that long before the cameras were there.
Right.
He really enjoyed that. So.
And I would wholeheartedly agree with that, because like you said, like after my senior year of high school, I kind of had some sniffs from some colleges. Notre Dame kind of wanted me to walk on. So again, I'm like, well, I can do this. So I just went on my own until the lights came on, or lights went off, the sun went down, and kicked. I kicked probably 200-300 balls. When you're 17, 18, you can do that. Yeah. But you do have to love it. I think that's a great point that you bring up. You have to, because if you don't, you can't fake it too long. Herm Edwards had the best. Herm used to say, when I played for Herm in Kansas City, he used to say, some football players like football and some players like what football gives them. And it's true, because you can tell. We've all played with those guys. I played with guys that I know, Rich Soybert, Sean O'Hara. Think of offensive linemen who are, they're in the trench 60, 70 times a game, hitting each other every snap. Those guys love football. They love it. They're getting hit. It's not easy. It's a tough man's game.
Yeah.
There's the guys, I'm not going to name them. But again, I could pick the guys out. We played with them. We had a couple year that like what football gave them. And it's the truth. And I can pick them out within 2 weeks of training camp.
Yeah.
So those are all good points.
Yeah. And that was a big thing I had to look at. It's like, I liked football and I loved where I was, but when I really took a step back, if I was thinking about making another run to go back to the league, I'm like, what do I love about it? Do I love actually playing the game, or am I doing it because I can't make that much money in the marketplace, or am I doing it because I like the popularity it gave me? And for me personally, the things I liked were the popularity and the money and that stuff, which was very appealing to me. But if it wasn't substantiated enough by the love of actually going out there and punting a football and doing what it took to be good, things weren't going to come. And that's why I was only in there for a year, and for a long time I felt guilty. But at the end of the day, you can't force what you're passionate about. And it's like I heard Jim Carrey say one time, and I don't usually quote that guy, but he made a good quote, and he's like, look, you can fail at doing something you don't like. So you might as well do something you do like, because the chance of failing is just as high. So that's kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing now, because I absolutely love football and football players. That doesn't necessarily mean I love personally playing it, And I think that's a hard thing for a lot of people who've never been put in a position to play on a huge stage to understand.
Yeah, and you came right into the ultimate fishbowl. I mean, I got a little bit of, for me, it was camp cut, NFL Europe, Canada, before the lights really came on for me. I was able to play in these smaller leagues, develop. Matt, boom, New York City, boom. I mean, we had just won a Super Bowl like 2, 3 years before. Yeah. Listen, listen. I think a bad experience in sports is better than no experience.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know people say, well, it's better to have a bad experience than have no experience in pro sports, and I wholeheartedly agree with that because I've had some bad. Listen, I've had some good. I've had some bad where I haven't kicked well, and people still to this day don't let you forget about it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it makes you who you are, and I'll never apologize for anything that I ever did on the field physically. Like if I miss, I'm not going to apologize. I mean, to me, I didn't try and miss. It was a full speed mistake. We're not robots. You're going to miss some, and you're not going to kick well some games. That's just the facts. But like you said from the very, very beginning of this conversation, people put you in this. Sure, I get that you're elite and you're one of these pro athletes, but the whole you're better than me, not better. I don't want to use that word, but you're more skilled, or I just think we're more driven. That's the word I would use, is that we were driven to be the very best at what we did.
Right.
And whatever it was, nobody knows. Everyone has their own ticks that make them. Some people do it, obviously, they need the financial. Some people do it for the fame. Some people do it just for the sheer love of the game. But there's a driving force. It's not that we're superhuman. As we go all the way back to our conversation like 45 minutes an hour ago, that does drive me nuts. I think it drives everyone nuts when these people put us on this pedestal. You can respect me, and that's great, but I'm going to respect you equally for being a policeman, teacher, whatever you do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we can end on that. It's we're very, very driven, but you also get very lucky. You also are in the right place at the right time, and you're also you make the connections you need and kick well when you need to. Things that are kind of out of your control.
They are.
Once you get that opportunity, that's the people that are successful sees it, and they recognize it for what it is, and then the rest is kind of history, because it really only takes one good break and you've made it.
You remember Coach Coughlin's quote? I never forget this. He always said, opportunities are never missed because someone else will always take it.
Right.
And that's, to me, that's probably one of the quotes that I think about all the time. Like, if I don't take this opportunity, then who's going to take it? Someone is going to take it. It's almost like if you don't get that last rib sitting on the plate with three brothers at home, somebody's going to get it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, that's one of my favorite quotes from Coach Coughlin. And of course, we all have 7,000 more that he left. But that's definitely a good one.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, man, I should say, dude, I appreciate it. I know we've been in contact throughout the years, so you definitely were a big brother figure to me on the team, and we're gonna kind of air this out, some stuff, and if anything you heard anything you liked, and anything, just kind of shoot me a message and leave it. I'm gonna write up a long blog post about this, and
that's why we're on air. I just want to say congratulations, Matt Dodge is getting married.
What?
Hey, no, that's cool, man. You'll love it.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling myself.
Yeah, good thing.
Love you, Allison. But anyways, Lawrence, always a pleasure, man. We'll be in contact.
All right, take care.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we're done. So you're just gonna edit it from there?
I'm gonna hit stop, bro. We're still broadcasting. Boom. So I'm gonna hit stop broadcast.